Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Stefan on the French Cooking Academy, and today, as you can see, you cannot see me because we are doing one of these videos that focus solely on the ingredients and on the culinary techniques, because you guys have been asking to see these types of video as well as recipes. So this is what we're going to do. Now we're also going to try to focus a bit more on fish. Sorry, we haven't done that at all, and this is why I wanted to start that chapter. And so let's talk about fish and fish sauces. And the Beurre Blanc actually is one of the base sauces. I talk about building blocks, and it is the very first foundation of all these white sauces we use in French cooking to go with all kinds of fish. And the Beurre Blanc is an old sauce that was actually well, the legends, I always say the legend, that back in the days there was a lady cook that she wanted to make a béarnaise. She was working in a chateau or some house, with the master, and she was trying to make a béarnaise for him, and she forgot to put the eggs. And she was like, she put some herbs and everything, and then said, oh my god, I forgot the eggs. But still, she did get that kind of emulsion going, and she got a silky butter, very white with a few herbs, and it was actually a success. And that recipe was discovered also later by a well-known lady called La Mère Michel. That is a very famous restaurant in Paris, and it was then that the sauce was really adopted and started to be spread in all the restaurants. A very good sauce to know how to make, and it's very basic, as you can see here. It only uses simple ingredients, so we've got some white wine. I'm using some Macon Village, and this is a Chardonnay wine, but from France. And the interesting thing with that is that the Chardonnay wine from France are actually dry wines. The Chardonnay I can find in Australia or somewhere else, they're actually not dry at all. And they're kind of more on the sweet side. So you really use this Chardonnay, this kind of Burgundy white wine for cooking. This is what I'm doing here. Then we've got shallots. We got some white wine vinegar, some salt, and plenty of butter. Now, if you think that French cooking uses a lot of butter, you haven't seen nothing yet, because that sauce is basically just pure butter. And we're going to use a whole block of butter to make that sauce. Now, let's see how we make it. Let's start. So for the food preparation, you're going to first cut off your butter like this in small pieces, and it has to be softened, so you leave it at room temperature until it's soft. Next, you're gonna have to thinly dice your shallots. Now, one little tip: if you want to thinly dice these shallots, you can use these knives. These are called in French the filet sole. They're the filleting knife, and the big thing about these is that they got a very thin blade. As you can see, it's extremely thin, and it bends, you see. And so it's very handy when it comes to cutting this. So let me show you. Okay, so using a filleting knife, you see this is the shallot you start with, thinly diced. So usually when you got your shallots like this, you have to start slicing like this, which I've already pre-done to win some time. And you get this kind of little slices of shallots in between. Now the difficulty here, usually once that's done, you then need to go that way. And you need to slice like this twice. And this with a thick knife is very hard. So here, and when you have that blade that's very thin, you can go, and it goes in very easily. So once, and then at the top you can do another one. Okay, and then you can start chopping these very thinly or finely. I don't know how it's called in English, to get this almost surgical little dices of shallots, and it has to be delicate because it is for a very delicate sauce. Okay, so this is roughly what you get. It's not perfect, and you can remove the big pieces, but all in all, look at that. You see, that's nice and thin. That's what we need. Last but not least, you have to measure your white wine and white wine vinegar. So make sure they're all ready, and you got a precise amount as listed in the description of the recipe. All done. So when you've prepared everything, you should have something like that. You got your butter, your shallots. I've added the salt on here. You got your white wine vinegar and your white wine, and now we're ready to move on to the stove to make the sauce. When all of your ingredients are ready and you got your pans and you're on the stove, you're ready to start the sauce. But before you do so, you need to know the definition of the beurre blanc. You need to be able to explain to someone if you're being asked what is it exactly. Because if you rock up to your dinner party or to a loved one and you announce the thing and say, guys, tonight I'm gonna make you a fish with a beurre blanc that is gonna blow your mind. And you guys are gonna be, really? Wow, it sounds fancy. What the heck is it? Well, I don't know. It's just a beurre blanc. You can't do that. You need to have some kind of backstory. So the beurre blanc, in a nutshell, is an emulsified butter made out of a reduction of white wine vinegar, white wine and shallot. Okay, when you got that mix dried up, you're gonna add some plain butter and emulsify the whole lot on low temperature. I mean, you're gonna whisk it vigorously to get a nice kind of creamy butter sauce. And this is what the beurre blanc is, and now we're ready to start. So let's begin. We're gonna start off by melting a little bit of butter in our pan, and today it's all about butter, and we're gonna put the shallots as soon as the butter is melted. As soon as the butter starts to foam, add all of the shallots, and we're just gonna gently, so very low heat, make them sweat in a little bit of butter to release these flavors before we add the vinegar and the wine. Now, very important in that sauce, no coloration. So as soon as you've left this for a minute or something, you're gonna immediately add your white wine vinegar and your white wine. You make sure you clean the pan. You can raise the heat a little bit. And you can clean like this the edges, because we're gonna leave this to reduce gently, a bit like a béarnaise sauce. So kind of the same thing, except you don't have any eggs in there. I'm gonna leave this to reduce until it's almost dry. So quick reminder, the reduction that you see here, it has to happen on a very, very low heat and very gentle. And so you need to take time with this and don't rush it. Now, as soon as the liquid has reduced to about a tablespoon, as you can see here, I still have some liquid in there. So that's enough. And look at these colors. You got this nice kind of pink color, the slight coloring. That's from the shallots here. So from here, basically you're almost done. Now it's just a matter of emulsifying the whole lot. So you can do this to start with without the heat on, and you can just add a few pieces of butter that we're going to slowly melt, and we're going to incorporate them little bit at a time and use a whisk and to incorporate everything. So gently you're going to start melting everything, and when it's melted, we'll incorporate or emulsify the whole lot bit by bit. So I'll show you that in a bit. Alright, so I've moved the camera a little bit to show you. So here I've put my heat back on very, very low, but if you're not sure with your stove, it's best to heat it up a little bit and then turn the heat off totally until everything is emulsified. Emulsifying is just that action of mixing vigorously the butter to get it a bit whiter. So it's just adding bits at a time, 2 or 3 pieces of butter. You incorporate, you melt, and you mix, and you keep on doing this until you get a kind of a sauce, a bit like a mayonnaise, like a hollandaise. It's going to start forming. So you keep on going like this, bit by bit, until we get a full type of sauce. Okay, I've added again more butter. So as you can see, it starts with the pieces of butter. And the action of whisking, incorporating, you see you start to have that kind of thickness coming. It starts to become a sauce. And it starts to become a bit whiter. It starts to be very yellowish. That depends on your butter. It's plain butter, remember. And you keep on whisking and adding the butter. Now temperature control, as I'm going, I had my heat on. I've turned it off again because it was getting a bit warm. So you don't want to boil anything. It is really like the béarnaise kind of thing. And that's very low temperature. So you can put your heat on and then off. It's almost like you could almost touch with your hand under like that. Always the same thing. Okay, done. I put my heat off. Temperature is about 40 to 50 degrees Celsius maximum. You see when it starts to foam like that, that is way hot enough. I've got my emulsion. Look how thick that sauce or that butter has become. Like a béarnaise. So let me have a look just to show you a little bit. So this is the consistency, you see. Let me try it. Okay, good balance. Silky-Smooth. A bit of sharpness from the vinegar and a hint of shallot. Not overpowering, don't overdo the shallot. It is now time to add a little bit of seasoning. Only salt for now. If you want, you can also add a pinch of cayenne pepper. I'm just going to show you the base of the base. So basically at this point your sauce is done. We're just going to now filter it to make it nice and clean. We're now ready to pass the sauce or filter the sauce. So you take all the sauce, the beurre blanc, and we're going to put everything in a sieve. Now here, if you want, you can also keep the shallots and blend the whole lot in a blender, in which case you need to use only half the amount of shallots as stated in the recipe, okay? But for now, we're just going to use the standard technique, which is really forcing down that sauce into the sieve. And you can afford pressing to increase the flavors of the shallots to go in, okay? So you do like that, you pass everything through, and then we're going to finish it off. And that's it, really. We've done our beurre blanc. So look at this. Look at the texture. A pure, creamy, foamy type of butter. So if you want, you can add a tiny, weeny bit of cayenne pepper in there. Or other spices. You can put herbs or puree of vegetables of your choice to transform that butter into something else. And this is how it goes. So that's it. You've done a beurre blanc. You can make it beforehand, before serving, and you have to keep it around between 40 and 50 degrees Celsius. So I'm just gonna cook a few potatoes and a piece of fish to present it on a plate to show you the simplicity of that sauce. That's it, everyone. My plate is done. So as you can see here, what I've done, this simple iteration of the French bistro style. You've done the pomme de terre persillée, boiled potatoes in butter and parsley. A fresh batch of lettuce with French dressing, some lime here to make it a bit fancy, and some poached fish. And we will cover this in other fish videos, so don't worry about that. And for the sauce, I'm just gonna pour that sauce over, which is again the star of the show, that sauce. So always a nice pristine sauce. And this is the favorite sauce when it comes to serving sweetwater fish like pike. So it's not the best of all presentation, but in a nutshell, this is a fish with white sauce. So of course, sorry, you see the fish is giving some water here, so I'm gonna just cut it off. Hope it's cooked enough, that fish. And in that sauce, apparently, well, let me tell you what, it goes well with fish. You'll be surprised if I say that it's actually not too buttery. It is pure butter, but honestly, it's more than just butter. It's some kind of a, it's some kind of a little emulsion. There's some air into it, and it's like a little mousse, and a very silky. And this intonation of the shallots and the vinegar and the wine in the background. But it goes very well with that kind of flatness of the whitefish. Whitefish is not very strong, so it's pretty good sauce. I'm really happy with it. So that's it for the basic beurre blanc. Remember, this is the base. If you want, you can add herbs in this, spices, or even fish stock, or anything you want to make it better and enhance the taste. But that's the lesson for today. This is how you can make a simple beurre blanc. And that completes our video, guys, as always. And don't forget to maybe give me a tip on tp.com or become a member on Patreon, because that really helps me to bring you more videos that I love to do. Okay, have a good time, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.